Hey everybody, Randall again. Today we have Dan Galpern back, the Manpower Project. He's just so insightful and such a big help and support to what I'm trying to do, and I guess since you're watching me, what you're trying to do. So I wanted to bring him back on, and he'll be with us in 2 seconds. Just a quick reminder on the comment section. Don't be an asshole. I mean, dude, come on. I have so much I'm doing in my life. I don't want to go through the comments and deal with blocking or all this other kind of stuff. I don't have the time and I just don't want to do it. Just go to another blog, okay? A vlog or whatever. Not cool, man. Go away. Positive. Keep it positive. Okay. Dan, how are you, man?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm doing well. How you doing today?
Good. You know, that frustrates me because like just one dude is really nasty on the comment section, really rude, and I just, you go into the settings, you got to deal with all this stuff, and it's just a waste of time. And of course, it happens when you're in Grand Central with no internet and that kind of stuff. But let's put that aside.
What's this guy all disgruntled about?
He was getting into it with a very nice young lady, and honestly, I just wanted to support her and get rid of him. And, like I said, I just don't have a lot of time to delve into it, but she's very nice, and I didn't want her to catch all this crap from him.
Right. Well, I think this brings us to an interesting point, and I don't want to feed the trolls, but this is a great representation of anger. A lot of anger that this guy has, and he doesn't know how to direct it in the right direction. And I know that's a common thing that happens to a lot of people that are in a bad situation. They just lash out at the world because they don't know, they don't know how to deal with the emotions that they have. So, this is a good metaphor for a lot of people going through this divorce process, and for people, going through any type of, big change in their life where they feel emotionally out of control. So I think that might be a good starting point for our conversation.
I think that's very useful. I just want to tell everybody there's a huge fly. So if you hear that or you see me trying to whack this thing, that's what's going on, which is another good metaphor. I agree, like anger. And, I tell the story of when the bad stuff first started happening, the divorce. I had a sales job, and in the beginning it was not great because I had to talk to these people and I didn't want to. But after a while, develop the muscle inside where you have to deal with the customer, no matter if you're fighting with the ex, texting back and forth, or thinking about that whole situation. So it was a good workout to get oneself out of that vicious circle.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, when you're down, it's hard to really generate any kind of positive energy. It feels like it's a big effort just to do anything normal and relate to people in a somewhat positive way, which is a big challenge because most people have to deal with people in their daily lives in one way or another. You really feel like life's kicked the crap out of you. It can be really difficult to, feel good enough to actually, bring your best foot forward and interact with people in a way that you feel decent about, where you're not trying to mistreat people, not on purpose, but just because you basically got nothing to give.
So what are some actionable steps to do when we're in that state? And we all know we don't want to do this. It's better to do that. But when you're in the shit, it's hard to see which way's up. And I'm going to open the door, and hopefully this fly will go outside. But go ahead.
All right. So the fly could be a metaphor for that negativity buzzing around your head that can't, doesn't want to let you go, doesn't want to leave you alone.
Hold
So
on.
here's a strategy, and I can't remember if I mentioned this the last time I was on.
All right.
But,
I just took the fly out of my shirt. Yeah.
You got it out?
I took off my shirt and I whacked it. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta whack the negativity, not control. So, I don't know if this is something that I mentioned last time or not, but one of the things that I've found very useful is writing yourself a sort of a script about yourself. Because when you're going through this negativity, you're dealing your spouse, your ex-wife, your wife. It's whatever in whatever stage it's in. Most likely, she is giving you, or he, depending on who it is, the negativity about you as a person. They're blaming you. They're saying you're nothing, you're shit, you're, sort of pointing out all your negative aspects of yourself, negative parts of your character, negative judgments about you, against you. And when you hear that stuff, it sort of echoes in your mind. We talked about this the other day, Randall, about how when that happens, it's like you're getting it in stereo, because you're already beating yourself up about it. You're already, judging yourself and feeling negative about yourself in certain respects, and then you're hearing it from the other side. So now it's in stereo, and you just, all the bad things you think about yourself already are now being repeated back to you by somebody else. So this is a really tough situation to deal with, and it makes people crazy. So here's an idea, something that I have done. I've done as an experiment with myself, and a lot of the guys I've worked with have also used this to a positive effect. So what you do is you write yourself a commercial, right? When you watch TV, you see a commercial that has, advertises certain products, what's great about those products, people smiling when they're using the product, and makes you want to be a part of that and to buy that product and use it, right?
Yes.
So we're conditioned, right? We're conditioned by, movies, by commercials, by TV, by the way, the news and things like that. So instead of just allowing ourselves to become, programmed by all these things that are coming at us, why don't we take the reins of programming ourselves? What do we want to believe about ourselves? So you can write a commercial, and you can talk about what do you want to believe about yourself. You start off by saying your name, and it's something you say in the mirror. This can be done different ways, but the way that I've done it is you say it in the mirror, and you say it in second person. You are a great person. You are a leader of your family. You do not let, you rise above circumstances. You can say things like, I say in mine, I say, I like you, right? Because a lot of times we feel like we don't even like ourselves. These other people aren't liking us, we don't like ourselves, and we're just in a world of shit, right? Big negative storm happening around us. So I say, I like you, I love you, I respect you, I accept you, I support you, whatever it is that you want other people to say to you, you say it to yourself. And then you can do other things with it, like money flows to me easily. Just positive affirmations that, that can help you to feel positive. And it's not something that's going to be like an instant elixir, but over time, I did it for 18 months straight, and I noticed a big difference in the way that I related to myself and kind of the way that I saw it. Because one of the ways to put ideas into your mind is by repetition. And you'll notice in the commercials that you see, they repeat them over and over, right?
Right.
Peyton Manning selling you some pizza or something like that. It's like over and over and over and over and over again. And eventually it sinks in. You're like, oh, I think I might have that pizza. So it's the same deal. You say these things to yourself over and over and over again, and then eventually it starts to create some belief system in your mind that's going to help you to rise above whatever negativity might be coming in on a daily basis, or it'll sort of nullify some of those negative thoughts that you tend to have over and over again. So that's one practical way that you can apply this thing to your life. It's very easy. And the only thing I'll say about that is that make sure it's inspiring. It shouldn't just be words. It should have some type of an emotional response from you, like whatever it is that motivates you, whatever it is that makes you feel good. Write that. Imagine if your number one fan in the world came up to you and said, "I like you. You're amazing. You're awesome. You're wonderful. You're great." Whatever it is that person would say, that's what you say to yourself, and then you program yourself to feel that.
What would potentially block somebody from doing that or take it seriously to do that?
From doing what I just suggested?
Yeah.
Well, they might think, "Oh, that's a waste of time. That doesn't work. That sounds stupid." There are all kinds of reasons why you might make up why you shouldn't do that. But I challenge you. It's something that you can do in less than a minute. So just make it one page. Rip out a piece of paper, write one page, right? Mm-hmm. And then just read it to yourself. And you could do this. I do it in the morning after I take a shower, but you could do it once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever. And you'll notice you get a little lift out of it when you do it. So, if you're having this conversation, for whatever reason, I'm not into that stuff. That could be another thing. Who's this guy telling me this? How does he even know this works? Well, I don't know. Who knows what the conversation is? But I would like to use this analogy. If this changes your life by 1%, if it makes your life better by 1%, is it worth it? Right? Because what happens is if your life changes direction, the trajectory of your life changes by 1 degree, right? Let's say your life is a rocket ship and it's going in a certain direction. You can change that trajectory by 1%. Well, guess what? Initially, it's not going to look like anything different. But over time, there's going to be a big difference in where that rocket ends up. So
that's well said. I can attest to that, and that takes faith in the moment, but he's very right about that. I would say, just to close this out, that sometimes to do that, to grow, we have to give up certain things, maybe about ourselves. She's right. Who am I to say this to myself? So you might have to give something up, your view of yourself, your feeling of yourself. And the reason I say that is because if we're in this situation of divorce, the relationship's blown up, okay, obviously there's situations where somebody just does some horrible stuff and you're left holding the bag. But look, man, we're there. So we're not clean in this situation. We have growing to do. It's not all the other person, unless it's like a closet Nazi or serial killer or something. But you got to acknowledge that, hey, I screwed up here too. I have some of the responsibility here. And be able to say that in a growth-oriented way, as opposed to, oh my God, I did this. What am I going to do? My life's over. No, it's like, hey, I dropped the ball, but I can pick it up again. I can grow. I have responsibility to my kids to do the best I can. I'm human. That's kind of what I'm saying, that sometimes we need to acknowledge that. Then we can fully enter into what you're saying, which I think is a great training episode,
Yeah, I think you make a great point about taking responsibility for the situation because, of course, the tendency is going to want to blame the other person. They're blaming you. You're going to want to blame them back and feel like you're a victim in the situation. But the fact is, you married this person, right? You made the choice to marry this person. And not to say that even if you get divorced doesn't necessarily mean it was a bad choice. Maybe this is just part of your path, I mean, maybe you can learn something better out of this. Maybe you can grow out of this and become an even better person because you went through this. Maybe you can go on to meet somebody else that's way better for you than that person that you were just with. So taking responsibility, okay, well, I made this choice for whatever reason. and now I'm going to deal with the consequences. Or maybe it was a good situation, or maybe I didn't, do all the things that I could do to make this marriage the best that it could be. So sort of owning, kind of really reflecting on what is it that I could have done better in this situation, because there are always things that we can do better. Not to say not blame ourselves, but just sort of acknowledge that, the person that I was then wasn't able to handle that situation the same way as maybe I could, maybe in a couple of years' time when I grow a little bit from this experience.
And also, I think your 1% analogy is good because I know from experience that you can get in a heated situation very fast. I mean, it's difficult enough when you're married, like under the same roof, and dealing with that. But it's easy to fire off at each other because 9 out of 10 people around you, family, friends, whomever, they're not necessarily cheering it on, but they're not going to step in and say, "Hey, keep it positive with her." No, they're on your side and they're backing you up. And if you're pissed at her, they're going to support that because either they believe that too, or they're your friend and they don't want to rock the boat. So it's incumbent on you to try to 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100, if you're pissed, take the higher ground, even if it's for a split second, because like Dan says, that comes to 1%. And that little acknowledgement, if you can just hold your tongue for 1 beat, that'll change the trajectory. Then it'll become 2 beats and may grow.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do when you're in the mud with it, It can be when, it can really feel, not only the pain of losing a relationship, but then all of the pain that goes along with the blaming yourself, blaming the other person. A lot of negative stuff happening with that. So it's not easy. I know it's not easy. I'm going to give a technique to some people, and some people might not like this or be on board with this, and that's okay. But I'm going to tell you something that I've done, and I'm a very emotional person, right? So I get very pissed off, and I emotionally react to stuff sometimes very strongly, and in fact, sometimes not so much in recent years, but in my past, I will get pissed, like furious, and I'll start talking to people, and I won't really be yelling, but they can tell that I'm fucking pissed, and they'll say, "Dude, calm down," and I'll say, "I am calm. You should see me if I wasn't under control right now. You should see what would happen." And so I understand what it means to be very emotional, very, emotionally triggered and feel very excitable or whatever. And so this is a technique that I've learned over the years. And also, like when I've done certain things that have made me very scared, I've pushed the limits on what I could do to challenge my fears, right? Which have, put me in very uncomfortable positions that have made me very, very scared and very shaky. So you can muster all the courage and the bravery and the strength and the whatever, and that's all good and well. But I'll tell you one technique that I've used that I think works better than any of that stuff. If you put your hand over your heart and you say to yourself, "I love you. I love you."
Okay.
I know it's I don't know what that sounds like. Somebody's never heard something like that before. But I can tell you that it works because we're never taught how to do that. And one of the reasons why we look for love and appreciation, all these other things from the outside world is because we've never learned how to give it to ourselves.
That's fair.
So if you can do that, when you're feeling in that really raw space, you can do that to yourself, that will help you to feel more calm, right? And you can even identify what it is that's bothering you. Like, I love the one who's angry. Right? I love the one that's in a rage. I love the one that's jealous. Whatever it is. And you can kind of just acknowledge what's happening with you and just, and just do that. And I find that is very, very calming, very helpful. And you can do it. I'll do it sometimes, 10 times in a row, 20 times in a row. And just, breathe while I'm doing it and just kind of like get myself back to center. And that's a really powerful way to really get yourself back to your base, your emotional base. So if it's useful for anybody, give that a shot.
What I like about that is, we talked about this the other day, I love myself because I made that movie that was a success, or because I got promoted at work, or because that girl is coming out, going out with me. And I think it's ridiculous not to think those things don't matter, or are major motivators, but to start at that basic level, that I love myself because I'm on earth, I'm breathing.
Right.
Can't argue that won't lead to a lot of peace in one's mind, and probably the world, if we could do that.
Right. And the fact is, we tend to think, I can't be okay with myself unless, I have the perfect marriage, or if I have the perfect job, or if I have the perfect accomplishment, whatever it is. Then I can actually let the goodness come in. And that's ass backwards, because, if you let it in first, then you're a lot more likely to have that relationship, to have that work success, and that, whatever it is, in what area of your life that you're looking to have success. It's a lot easier to have that success when you're not so freaking needy about it. You know what I mean? When we need certain things to line up for ourselves in order to feel okay, then we're needy as shit. And when we're needy like that, that's when, we don't feel okay. So if we can just, whatever we need, give it to ourselves, and then it's like we're not as needy about it from other people, which is cool, which takes me back to the commercial, which is why I suggest doing that.
I think it's brilliant, and a challenge, blah, 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 but who cares? I mean, we're on Earth. You can either live or die, or be a zombie walking around. So what we've been talking about, bringing that back to divorce, and really the guys out there, and some women are signing as well, in the shit. And what we're talking about, myself, Dan's a lot smarter than me, so not so much him, but what I talk about is kind of, it's not, some brilliant philosophy or new way of thinking. What it is clarity. Because it seems to me, and we were talking about this the other day, it's like taking a mundane activity, playing blackjack, making chocolate milk, and trying to do it in a flight simulator at the Air Force, where they're flipping everything around, and then they put you in the pool and drop you out, dump you out, dump you into the pool, pull you out. There's so much toil going on, and smoke and fire, the divorce and all the emotions. We lose our focus on doing those basic things, which are going back to believing in yourself, staying healthy, eating right. It's easy to just veer off path. So I just want to make sure we're always bringing back to those guys who are in the shit right now, and the high ideals and commentary matter in the macro level, but my hope is to, metaphorically reach in there, you take my hand and let me help guide you to some clarity and get you on dry land through this situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, and just to, I think I said this the last time I was on, but, when you're in the middle of your life caving in on you, you feel like that's never going to end. Like it's always going to be that bad, and that your life's just going to get worse and worse from there on out. But that's just not the case, right? So when life knocks you down, you have a choice. Are you going to lay down, or are you going to get back up? So if you choose to get back up, then know that life will get better. It's hard to imagine when you're right in the middle of it. But just keep grinding, like stuff you talk about, Randall, about, get your exercise in, do something positive, maybe go volunteer, or, like I just coached a baseball team, and that was a lot of fun for me, and I got out of my own head when I do that, and I go and I just enjoy supporting and helping these kids become better. And so, do something positive and get some new habits going to just get yourself moving in the right direction in some way, shape, or form. Do some deep breathing or meditation if you're able to. I know a lot of times when your mind's just spinning, it's like it's hard to even get yourself calm. But even 10 deep breaths every morning or something like that could be very useful to help ground you, back into yourself when you feel like you're just like being blown away by the tornado of life.
I think that's so right. And the one thing I would add to that, and it segues into what you were saying, is, I don't think it hurts, and I do this. I'm maybe feeling down or bumpy, whatever, and you think about, all right, where do I want to be, and I'm there now. Now, that's kind of counterintuitive to the idea of just accepting yourself, but who you are. But if one is not there yet or wants to try a different angle, there's no right or wrong, just what fits and works for you. I say, okay, I'm at the success level, making the money I need as a filmmaker and actor and writer. What does that feel like? A relationship with a woman. I don't see her particularly. I just feel her energy. What does that feel like? And I think that motivates you to do things, and it also helps educate your subconscious into what you want and to begin to reprogram or program yourself if you've never done that. Although I think we always are programming ourselves. It's just nice to have our positive half kind of have a say in that. But it's all about taking control back. But if you can feel that and see that, what it is you want, and get clarity, you'll have no problem getting up at 4 a.m. to do what you need to do. What Dan's suggesting, the deep breathing, the talking to yourself in that manner, writing the scripts. You have to have a positive vision, or else you're not going to give a shit. You need to lose weight, eat less. Here's some great food. I bought all this food and I fix it for you, Japanese. But that's the cart before the horse. If you're not invested in it personally, you know that. I always ask my son, I'd say to other people, what would you wake up to do every day at 4 a.m.? He says baseball. So that's not how I love, not how I love him, but how I know he loves the game. But that's an interesting thing to get back to, just to round this ramble out, that, in marriage you can compromise, necessarily so, but you may lose part of yourself. So when you come out, what's important to you? I don't know what I want to do. Well, what would you wake up at 4 a.m. every day to do? It's ridiculous. Well, what is it? Fishing, but how's that going to do it? Well, you never know where that might lead to. Right, Dan?
Yeah. One of the best exercises that I've ever done is very simple, and it's especially useful during times when you're not happy with what's happening, because when you're in the negative zone and the crap's just loading on top of your head, the tendency is to focus your mind on what you don't want, right? I don't want her to do this. I don't want this to happen. I don't want this result, whatever. So this exercise helps you pull out of that a little bit. So spend as much time as you can. I would recommend minimum 30 minutes. If you want to get the full effect of it, do it for a full 60 minutes. Sit down, either, however you like to write things out, either on your computer, your phone, or whatever, or I like to do it in just a plain old notebook. But I just sit somewhere quiet for an hour, and I don't do anything. I don't check email. I don't check messages. I don't do anything else besides look at this paper and think about, what do I want? What do I want? Okay? I want a good relationship, or I want people to respect me. I want to feel good when I wake up. I want to have friends that appreciate me. I want to have a certain car or a certain house or live in a certain place, which is all fine. I want to learn how to speak Japanese. I want to, I want to be emotionally available for my next relationship. Whatever it is, anything, literally anything you can think of, write it down and just spend the entire hour thinking about what it is that you really want. It's a really powerful exercise, and it really starts shifting your mind in the right direction. And then you start to, like you said, Randall, clarity about what it is that you want. And once you start getting that clarity, then you can make better decisions about what you're actually going to do. What's the plan of action? What are the goals you're going to set? And now what's next?
Well said. And as we round this out, I think it's important again to note we mentioned the X maybe twice, if not once, in this whole time. Everything else was focused on you and me and Dan. And that tells you something from what we believe is the road out of this divorce quagmire. You, bro, you don't hear me bitching and moaning about her and what's different maneuvers and techniques you might use on her. There's a time for that, but it all goes through you. And it's called authenticity and growing of yourself and acknowledging, hey, I was in this relationship too, and I dropped the ball somewhat, and I'm going to use that to get myself to the next level and self-knowledge and everything. So, Dan, I want to thank you so much. Can you tell us where folks can find you and what you're up to these days?
Sure. Well, Randall, it's my pleasure as usual. I love coming on talking about this stuff, and if I can support people in any way, that's what I do. You can find me over at manpowerproject.com. And I'm a coach, and I work with people in transitions. I work with people, in all types of, areas of their life that they're looking to improve upon. Because a lot of times, we're stuck in our own viewpoint of what's happening with our lives, and to get that second pair of eyes to help you see what's going on and, what's the blockage can be really powerful. So I do that one-on-one coaching. I have group coaching. I do a mastermind, which is free for people that can come on the third Sunday of every month. And I'm actually developing a webinar right now. We've talked about doing a webinar about divorce and helping people, being really comprehensive in the support that we can give people to help them move through divorce in a healthy manner. And I'm also doing another webinar that has to do with, making the leap from the corporate world to, being more of an entrepreneur and doing your own thing. So we're doing a lot of different things over there right now. I host a podcast called The Dan G Show, and it's all about becoming better as a man, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And we cover all kinds of topics. Like the last one I just did was about masculinity. We talked about how to stay fit, how vulnerability is actually a really powerful weapon that you can use that a lot of times we're not willing to do. And we just cover all kinds of topics. I have the goddess on there. I bring women on that talk about the women's perspective and things like that. And I've written about 80 blog posts on there as well. So nice. There's lots of info in there if you guys want to check it out. Maybe some of that stuff will be useful to you to move forward in your lives. So I would appreciate, if I was able to help you in any way.
It was a pleasure and just really insightful as always. And we have been talking about the divorce, what do you call it? The net? I'm so behind technologically. What is it? The net seminar?
The what?
What do you call it? The net seminar? When you do a
seminar?
What is it called? The
seminar?
Yeah, seminar on the net. Right?
What about it?
That's what it's called, right? What do people call it when you have a seminar on the web, webinar.
Yeah.
Webinar.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically like a virtual seminar.
Virtual seminar. So we were talking about having a virtual webinar about divorce and bringing everybody in. I just wasn't sure if there was much interest in that. If there is, put it in the comments. Let me know, and we can work on that and put that together. And everybody lend a helping hand to everybody else. So, Dan, thanks so much, man.
My pleasure, Randall. Great work as usual. Thanks for all you do for these guys that are going through this storm right now.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Hold on, and let me wrap this up. Everybody, thank you so much. Talk to you soon, and stay strong. Stay strong, focused, and we'll get out of this together. Take care.